choose. Okay, pick and choose. Okay, so I talked about the events journal, which I did a bit of research on the journal. I thought of the bullet journal, which people can design their own templates and stick to that, but it seems just a lot of things to follow the rules like that in the events. So I don't think we have to be specific about the journal templates or journal design. So I think that I will keep it pretty open for that. So in the events journal, we can have simple templates. And the second one is the input materials, which can be sticky notes, emoji stickers, and pages that can be strippable. So people can take it out and engage with activities in the space. I will go through the activities later, but the idea is that the events journal will have two parts, which can be doesn't have to be one after another, but it can be two main themes. The first one is that the event journal serves as their personal diary. So it can be reflecting on their activities during COVID time, a day in their life, their own definition of COVID after they have experienced it, their own feeling of the space that they have lived during COVID and after COVID. So get a general idea either before those meetings, those documentaries, so that they have their own space to have their own definitions of this traumatic events, I would say. And then the diary also goes along the timeline of the events, so that for each event, for example, after a talk with professor or after a documentary, they will have their own space to reflect on that if they want to do that. So the event journal is pretty open. They can keep it for themselves after the event, or if they want, they can give the journal back to us, so we can have a source of data to reflect on after this events program. And then the event journal has the second part, which is providing the resources to engage with activities in the collective space. So I talked about that. I will go to the next part, which is the possible design of space and time. I'll just sketch it out. I don't think that it aligns pretty well with the space that you're looking for, because I don't know it yet. But here is the idea that I have in mind of the space. So imagine that the space that we meet is very open space. So we can have the open mural right here, which we talked about. The mural display can be prepared in advance and then also participatory. And then those blue part over here is data displays of COVID and people. If your team have a big resource to display that, that's what I'm thinking of. But again, it is what I'm thinking of. So it can be prepared and participatory if needed. So those data space will be the display space of the activities that I will talk about later. And this one might be like a stage, and then people will sit here to listen to the talk or to watch the documentary. So sitting space here, and then watching participating space right here. And then this is the opening part. People will go through that opening gate. That's what I'm thinking. But again, we can adjust that, and I'm not sure if I involve in that part. So those will set the grounding for the design of activities that I'm thinking of. So we talked about the event journal as personal diary and as a collection of resources such as sticky notes, emoji stickers for people to engage with the activities. So that's why I'm thinking of the the event journal as relating to activities. So we can have the design space, like the space that events takes place at, and then the journal. So the space is something that is very collective. People look at. Journal is something that people keep for themselves. So the activities I design relates very well to the relation between space and journal. So I mark it here so that when we go down here, we will see the activities designed for. So those activities right here is only is asynchronously done. So people will see it on the space and they don't have to like engage with that. They can engage with that if they want to. So those includes what resonates the most to me. So I put A here because people can take materials from the space and put that into their own journal. So what resonates the most to me is what I'm thinking is there are multiple things that can be taken away from the space, such as sticky notes, inspirational quotes, or images. So those can be taken away and then put on their own journal. So in their own journal, they can write down, or they can have some photos, they can have some quotes to reflect on. So those are the options. The design of space allow them to take some quotes or photos to put in their journal. The second one is messages to those gone. So it aligns very well to the day one of the events. So this is B, which means they can that's something that they can take from their journal and put into the space right here. So which means that I'm thinking of the design of space is multiple envelopes. So they can like jot down on their journal, rip that page, or we can somehow design a letter and then they can jot them down and then put into the envelope. So it's the messages to those gone. It can be reviewed, it can be shared if they want to, but we are thinking of keeping a secret to them if they want to. Yeah, and then this one is also asynchronously done, messages to themselves in those COVID years and upcoming years, so the past and the future. This idea aligns very well with day number 3, time for recovery, upholding the recovered. So this one, instead of putting into the envelopes, they can share what they want to share. Inspirational quotes, regrets, pain, loneliness, the feelings onto the very open wall, so that community members, participants can see each other's and have a discussion on that. So that's another option. The fourth option is like very open. Thoughts about the program events. Again, this is like a qualitative way that we can have community members feedback on the first events. I think it might be helpful if your team wants to have that. And then besides those asynchronous events, I also think of 2 events that we or our team can facilitate with participants. So the first events that I'm thinking of, or first activity that I'm thinking of, is collective data visualization through recalling memories. So it aligns well with day 1 and day 2 of the activities. What I'm thinking of is people will, like participants will print out food or locations that they were very familiar with during those COVID years. Those dishes, those places would be everyday items that engage with them the most, that make them recall them to the COVID years, I would say. So it's just a very comfortable places for people to either print out those images or to sketch out, like to draw those images and put them into the big canvas together. So those like those blue sticky notes here resemble the images. And then those sticky notes in orange right here resemble whether they want to jot down something that when they think of those items, they think of like people, places that really comfort them or engage with certain feelings that they have during those COVID years. So it's just an open place for people to share memories with each other. Yeah, so what I'm thinking of during this facilitated activities is color pencils, pens for people to draw, printer in case people to print that out from their photo storage, or sticky notes for them to jot down some notes, or if they want to just like talk about it in a small group, they can too. We don't need sticky notes. And then the second facilitated activities is a bit more complex. It aligns well with day 3 of the activities. Is more about recovery, reflection. So the main thing that I want to focus on is how to help people reflect on their personal emotions during those COVID years, and then how can they reflect on that to engage with possible social issues, relate to their own identity, and from that together they think of, they imagine the possible solutions to hopefully solve those social issues. Again, those social issues might be very complex and we might not come to certain points of solutions, but together we think of how we can help soothe those social issues or help each other recover from those COVID years. So with those things, it includes complexities in connecting the dots. So I'm thinking of this platform. It has been used for a while, which is this connecting threads. So people will use those threads right here, engage to certain emotions, and then connecting the threads together. So this is a very complex platform to gain a quantitative data. However, what I'm thinking of is, again, this is still in the process, but what I'm thinking of is how to help people using threads, but also this platform is evolving every time, which means our team might not think of certain social issues, and then participants will think of that, so they will use stickers, threads as something to add more onto this platform. So through adding more, they will think through, hopefully, how those points connecting to each other, how social issues, how solutions, how emotions really connect to each other. Yeah, so I think that might be a cool end on day 3. Yeah. So
what is coming to my mind is, you see this whole thing, can we print it out eventually when we're ready? I know that in the library, science library, there's a big printer where we can print out in color, maybe 5 copies of this. Yeah. I think it's like $3 each or something, where we can now paste them in places and people can interact with them, you know. So that, as you fine tune it, it will be possible to make funds available to print a real big size of this. And I'm going to send you a diary of collection of my poems and articles and things that I wrote about during COVID. That if you find any one of it that you can either pin somewhere or post somewhere or print out that can ginger collective discussion. I will send it to you immediately after this this talk. So, but this color I like, and I like the way it is taking shape. What I will make towards that time, maybe a week before, we'll find a place on campus and print the real big size. They're big poster sizes, and then we can stick them, and people can color and can do things. And that will be it. So just look for a place somewhere there to put your name, you know, that this is your own creation. And then when we get there with the colored pencils and all, we'd allow people to, you know, either put stickers or write things, but it's going to be big enough and there'll be many of it. We can put it on the floor, we can stick it on the wall. And we can also look for hazels that can take, you know, a big size like this. So that's what I think about this. It's nice the way it is. The only thing that we can't predict is, number one, the number of people that will turn up and the enthusiasm to want to participate, to either write things, but hopefully we might be able to get. But on the 3rd of July, I would be very happy if you can show up to also introduce the students to this, so that they can bring their friends, they can invite people to come and let's interact with this. So that would be some of the things they will do for the internship. And then if they have any contribution, they can also suggest.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds very nice. So from those ideas that I'm sharing, I know that I'm not sure if we have a chance to go like have all those activities together. So what can be moved forward? Because I know that the next thing I would do is to design a journal and then prepare for some of the activities here. So what are the things that stand out to you? I'm not sure if you want to discuss with your team. I can share those with you all later, but
yeah, the 3rd of July, we're expecting at least 5 students that are going to be interns who will be working with us on this project. On the 3rd of July is when they would start. But we will not meet until the end of the month. We would only meet physically, but between the 3rd, we all will be brainstorming of what to do. But what I would approve immediately is when you fully design this, we should print it out in color. Maybe like 4 or 5. There's provision for that, we can do that. And we'll stick it up. But once we also talk to the students, if they have any inputs, things they want to do, or how they want to make it look better, that will be fine. But for now, I would stick with this. What it's there is to make it in a way that it is possible to send it to a printer that will print a big poster size.
Yeah.
You know, because there's also the possibility of sharing this with another group and having it like a poster session, you know, of what we did, of the process that we went through to get to what we finally did. So that's my take on this one. But what I would send you immediately after this talk is a copy of the diary that I kept during the years of COVID. Some of them prose, some of them poetry, some of them. If you find any line there or any quotation that you want to take, you can just take it and stick it on to somewhere as an example of what people can also do, you know. Yeah, so that's because during those drumming times, I want people who have poems to read them, and just according to the theme of the day.
Yeah, that can be a nice part to add in the journal and also at the space, especially when I'm thinking of this part, what resonates the most to me. So that can be something that we can put on the design of the space. Again, we can talk about that with 5 interns. Yeah.
And then you could also go and take a look at the space.
Yeah.
It's in
What is that?
Tollington. It's the language learning center in Tollington.
Cool.
It's ground floor in Tollington where you have that sculpture piece. Just there, that side of Tollington where you have that sculpture, if you look, you would see the language studio.
Language studio.
Yeah, that's where we're going to use most of the time, and then probably spill out to the front of it, and that will be it.
Oh, so our studio, graduate student and undergrad design studio also have a big printer, which can print like 80 something by 40 inches, like 5 out of 3 feet. Not sure if that big's enough, but those are the ideas.
Once you know how much it will cost, we will just pass your name on. Once all of that cost is taken, we'll pass on your name, and then we can offset the cost of printing it.
Yeah, I think I will need to check with my professor on the cost for that. But also we might need to have some materials like color pencils, printer.
Just find out how much they cost. Find out how
Yeah.
much they cost. There are 2 things I can do. I can give you cash to buy it, and then the receipt, and then they would reimburse you, and then I can have, because it has to carry the name of somebody. Once you know how much, just get me a little invoice, sort of, not really, but just a rundown of how much you found out the things will cost, and then we can pick it up and know how much we're spending on that.
Oh, so yeah, invoice, that can be something that I can plan out after this talk.
Yeah.
But after this, I know that we will have a meeting with those 5 interns in the beginning of July. But after this talk, what should I prepare so that we can like go through these ideas with interns better?
Well, what you would have is, I'm going to send you my diary. It's called the COVID diary. And we can also, if you find any, there's also online something called a COVID museum. Museum. I think it's on Instagram or somewhere, where you have different kinds of works that were done during COVID. If you find any one of them, I think it's in public domain, and we can print it out in color as well, as some kind of exhibit. You find anyone that is interesting, that can be used to illustrate either the stories that I will send you or the poems, that will be separate from this one. We can create and print something out as well, so that people can read the work, and then from some of the images that you'll find on it's called COVID Museum. If you just put hashtag COVID Museum, the most likely will take you there. And there are lots and lots and lots of photographs of paintings and stuff that we can use. And yeah, so I'll send you that one.
Cool. So I think you are talking about the design of the space and those posters that we can print out after collecting data from those COVID museums, photographs, poems, right?
Yeah, very different from this. Just keep this as you have it. Let this one be another, just a separate thing will be.
I understand.
Yes, this one stays as it is. And we will print this out as it is, except if we fine tune it after July. If we do anything, or if there's anybody with a suggestion of what we can do, that's when we'll print it. But the other one that I'm talking to you, it's like illustrating. If you find any poem or anything that is written there separately from this one, just to encourage people and to give visual, visual to some of the texts that I'll be sending to you. So in any other way that can inspire people either to read it aloud or want them to want to write their own. The idea is to get people to interact with the text, but somebody has to start it. And so that's what I'm trying to do, to say, okay, these are examples of things that somebody else has done, and is also illustrated. So there's not just text, it also has visuals with it. Whichever visuals we put doesn't matter. People just get drawn when there's a visual to a text.
Yeah, I see. That was.
But let me send you that one first, and then you can tell me what you think you want to do with it, or what can be done with it to encourage community participation.
Yeah. So, cool. So that is also another task that I could do.
Yes.
And what about these activities, and then the journal? Do you think that something we can move forward, or should we pause until we meet the 5 interns?
For the journals, because somebody has to do it. And that's why I say, when we meet in July, you explain it to the students. If it's something they feel like doing, that will be fine. But you see, for me, what is most important is all of this. If we can capture all of this into hard copy and print it out so that people can see, and they're confronting it, they're looking at it, they can now do the journaling, they can do any of these activities that are there right in front of us.
Cool. Yeah. I understand. So the design of the space first, and then we can think about this later.
Yes.
Okay. So another thing that do you have, I know that it will be in Gainesville. So is that like the events will be 3-day events will be in Turlington Hall?
Yes.
Okay.
All of it will be in Turlington.
Cool. So I can come to the language office to see how the space could work, and then measure it so that we have a general idea of how the poster, the size of the poster. Because I'm working at Turlington Hall, so the size of any posters that we want to display information is pretty important before putting everything in, I think.
Yeah, I think the walls, there are 2 adjacent rooms, and it's not only on the wall, because we can also put it on the floor. Instead of hang it, we can also put it on the floor, and people will just interact with it. We can put it on the table. There are tables there.
Yeah.
There are tables in the place. We'll put it on the table and people can interact with it. We can put 1 or 2 on the wall, and they will interact with it. Yes, that's
yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah, that's possible. But if you have a time, you can just go to Tollington. It's called the Language Studio. It's the number is there, I think 13 something. Yeah, it's not easy, it's not difficult to find at all. Once you see that ugly sculpture, it's just if you're looking at the sculpture, you'll be backing it. If you back the sculpture, you'll be seeing it. In the middle, there is the vending machines, a lot of vending machines.
Yeah.
And then the next side of the vending machine to the right, if you're backing the sculpture at the toilets, male and female toilet, but to the left of it are the 2 rooms for the language studio.
I see.
You always go in there and talk to them. The woman in the front office already knows about this, and look around. And that, and then we'll meet early in July to discuss.
Yeah. yeah, I can do like a quick tour in Turlington Hall, the language studio, and then after you send me those information, I can like just prep that generally as I have done with this journal. So that is the coming task. Anything
Okay.
else? Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll get to meet.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to like meet next Friday, or is that something that we
Maybe
can talk
next
about?
Friday. Yeah, I'm here next Friday. If we have
Okay.
an update, next Friday will be okay.
Yeah. I will we'll see how it goes, and then
Okay.
we'll catch up. Okay.
Okay. All right then.
All right. See you then.
All right. See you then.
Bye. Have
All
a
right.
great
Bye.
one. Mhm.
Yep.